लिंक। हाँ, हेलो। आ रही है आवाज? लिंक लिंक। भेज दिया? अच्छा। तो गुड मॉर्निंग उपासना, गुड मॉर्निंग पारस. Gradually they are coming. So yesterday we were discussing United Kingdom, and unfortunately there was a technical glitch. So I kept on explaining, but my voice was there, but a picture was stopped. So I'll explain slightly again certain things. Uh, Yesterday we started with this. I discussed what were the geographical factors that enabled the United Kingdom to become a global maritime power. Its nature of coastline, shallow continental shelves, high tides enabling the ships to move in and move out, sheltered harbors provided by the indented coastline. Those were the factors that Britain emerged as a global maritime power. Then I started with discussing this Scotland. I told you this northern part, this is Scotland, this is Wales, this is Scotland, this is Wales, this is England. Together, Scotland, England, and Wales, together this is known as Great Britain. And this is Ireland. And this part, Northern Ireland, is part of United Kingdom. I discussed yesterday. This is Northern Ireland. And these islands like New Hebrides, Orkney, Shetland, they are all are part of United Kingdom. So United Kingdom basically comprises of Great Britain, that is Scotland, England, and Wales, Northern Ireland, and these small islands like Isles of Man, this Hebrides, Orkney, Shetland Island, they all are part of United Kingdom. Now, then I discussed that the northwestern part, northern part, this is known, here you find in Scotland, northwestern mountains. This northern part is actually separated from this northern part of Scotland is separated from rest of the Scotland by a trench, which is not shown here. There is a trench. This trench is known as Glenmore Trench. So this northwestern mountains are completely separate from rest of the Scotland by this Glenmore Trench. And then in this part of Scotland, you have Grampian Mountains. Grampian Mountains. Now here you find population habitation is very limited. These are not so much inhabited part. This part, this part of Scotland is most densely populated. Here, this is basically Firth of Forth, and this is Firth of Clyde. Clyde is a river. In between, this region is known as Midland Valley. This region is known as Midland Valley. This is the most important region of Scotland. It is in Midland Valley that 75% population of Scotland lives over here. 100% manufacturing industries are located in Midland Valley, and almost 90% of agriculture and dairy farming of Scotland takes place in Midland Valley. Midland Valley is very important. Now, to further elaborate this, I must enlarge this map. So this is Scotland. In Scotland, this is Scot. This is Midland Valley. Firth of Forth, Firth of Clyde. Midland Valley is the most important part. In the western side of Midland Valley, because of westerlies, here rainfall is more. So here we find pastures and dairy farming. Dairy farming or cattle rearing in the western part. The eastern part, that is dry. So here in the eastern part of Midland Valley, here crop cultivation is important, especially wheat cultivation during summer. Now, it is an irony, you can say, that such fertile valley is also endowed with coal. So agriculture, which could have been a very important activity, is relegated to background, and manufacturing activities take over. Because of availability of coal, such fertile lands are more devoted to industrial activity because of availability of coal. As I discussed, it is the availability of coal that in past determined the industrial development. Here you have huge coal deposits of high quality. Huge coal deposits of high quality. Here in Midland Valley, the most important coal fields are, first is Central Coal Field. It is the largest. Midlothian Coal Field. Ayrshire Coal Field. And fourth is Fifthshire. Fifthshire coal field. These are the four coal fields that led to drastic expansion of industrial activities, and at one point of time, this region was the world's largest manufacturer of ships. Shipbuilding activity took place on a large scale. Here you see there's a river Clyde that falls in Firth of Clyde. This Clyde River Clyde River, all along this river, it is dotted with shipbuilding activities. And the most important center of shipbuilding is Glasgow. Glasgow. At one point of time, Glasgow was the world's largest shipbuilding center at one point of time. And such large was the act, because shipbuilding requires huge amount of steel. The shipbuilding activity was carried on such a large scale that a steel requirement was so high that a separate steel plant was located over here. That is Motherswell steel plant. Why? To fulfill the need of shipbuilding activity. Glasgow, all along the Clyde River, it is dotted with shipbuilding activities, Glasgow being the center. Such large was the shipbuilding activity that a separate steel center, a city came into existence just for manufacturing steel to fulfill the need of shipbuilding activity. And the labor, you can imagine the volume of labor involved over here by the fact that a separate textile plant was located. A city was created just to manufacture cloth for the labor. Although jeans was manufactured for working labor, miners and workers in Genoa of Italy. But here the labor force was so large, separate textile center, a city came into existence, Paisley, textile center, to fulfill the need of the cloths for the laborers. And later jeans became so popular over here. Jeans was basically designed for miners and workers, those who are engaged in mining and laborers. So you can well imagine the scale of operation going on in Glasgow. What large would have been the shipbuilding activity. There are separate steel plant, a city, Motherswell, manufacturing steel, and separate city, Paisley, for manufacturing textiles, was established over here. Now in Scotland, its capital is Edinburgh. Edinburgh is having various types of industries, but most importantly, it is a university town, educational city. It is having multifarious industries, but Edinburgh is more known for its education. And the port of Edinburgh is Leith. Leith is the port of Edinburgh. Now, south of this Midland Valley lies southern uplands. So I'm rubbing this. I feel you all have drawn this. So south of Midland Valley lies southern uplands. This region comprises of southern uplands. Remaining Scotland in the southern part is southern upland. This is southern upland. Hilly region, it is a hilly region. Unlike Midland Valley is a plain. It is a hilly region known as southern upland. Here it is a hilly region where natural pastures are found, where sheep are found in abundance. So sheep rearing is the most important activity in the southern upland. Now here you see this border between, this is the border between Scotland and England, Scotland and England. Here Cheviot Hills are there, and thereafter here this border is formed by Tweed River. There is a river Tweed. This is Tweed River. Cheviot Hills in the western part. In the eastern part, this border between Scotland and England is formed by Tweed River. This Tweed basin, is famous for tweeds, from which woolen cloth is made, and especially for blazers. जो blazers होते हैं ना, this Tweed Valley is very renowned worldwide. Scotland, most important, basically Tweed River is known for its tweeds. Tweeds are found in this river valley, from which woolen cloth is made, and especially this woolen cloth is used for making blazers. So this was about Scotland. Now let us come on to the southern part, England. England. See, this is the border of Scotland and England. This is the border of Scotland and England. In England, if you see in the central part, there's Pennine Range. Pennine Range. It is a mountain range. One very important aspect that I forgot to tell you. In Britain, most of the mountains are very old, Precambrian. They are very eroded and denuded. Old senile topography. Therefore, rivers are shallow and short. River navigation is not at all important in Britain. Rivers, although Thames is navigable for a short stretch, but rivers are short and shallow in general, and they are not important for navigation. So, waterways is not an important activity in England, Britain. Inland water transport is not important because rivers are short and shallow. Why? Because of old and senile topography. Mountains are weathered and eroded. Pennine Range, if you see this range, it is having steep edge towards west. Pennine Range is having steep edge towards west. It is having steep edge, and it gently slopes towards east. As a result, this western part receives more rainfall as compared to eastern part. In the northwestern part of Britain, here you have Cumbrian Mountain. Cumbrian Mountain. These mountains are found in Lake District. Lake District. Here, unique feature is what? These Cumbrian mountains, these are very much famous among tourists, and they attract tourists for their scenic beauty. In Cumbrian Mountain, it is found in Lake District. Here, the lakes are found radially in the form of spokes of a wheel. Lakes are found radially in the form of spokes of wheel. जैसे साइकिल की ताने होती ना, these lakes are in the form of spokes of wheel. These are the lakes. And they are very beautiful. They are this Lake District, and this lake is found in Cumbrian Mountain. It is a tourist attraction. Then on the eastern side of Pennine Range, southern side of Pennine Range, and western side of Pennine Range, it is fertile lowland that is known as Midland Plain. It is very fertile. Midland Plain wraps around the Pennine Range on the south and branches into east and west. This Midland Plain surrounds this Pennine Range. It wraps around the Pennine Range in the south as well as east and west. This eastern branch, this plain on the eastern side, this eastern branch of Midland Plain is known as Yorkshire. And this western branch, these plains, these are known as Lancashire Plains. The eastern plains are known as Yorkshire and the western plains are known as Lancashire. They are part of Midland Plain. Very fertile, very suitable for agriculture. In fact, dairy farming is also practiced over here along in agriculture. Agri crops also grown. But here you find one of the world's largest and the best quality coal deposits. Again, in Yorkshire and Lancashire, huge coal fields are there. And these coal fields are so large that even Britain continues to utilize the coal at the same rate. They won't get exhausted even in the next 100 years. Such large coal fields. Because of availability of coal fields, these fertile plains are no more so much devoted to agriculture. Rather, industrial activity has become more important. Again, an irony, fertile plain coinciding with coal mines. South of Midland Plain, here from this you can see this Bristol Bay. This is Severn Estuary. From here onto the south of Midland Plain, from southwest to northeast, you find scrapland. Scrapland. That is to the south of Midland Plain. There is scrapland. See, this is Severn Estuary, Bristol Bay, and here it is moving from southwest to northeast. Hills are there. These scraplands are in the form of low ridges that run from southwest to northeast. Now, this southeastern part of Britain is known as the Weald, and this southwestern part, this is known as Southwestern Peninsula. Southwestern Peninsula. Here, the Southwestern Peninsula is having two parts. This is known as Southwestern Peninsula. This is Southwestern Peninsula. This southern, projecting part, this is known as Devon, and this is known as this peninsula is known as Cornwall. Devon and Cornwall. Southwestern Peninsula has two more parts, Devon and Cornwall. This southwestern part, we'll discuss, is very important for dairying, is an important producer of milk and butter. This southwestern part is important producer of milk and butter. It is having the distinction, this Southwestern Peninsula. Southwestern Peninsula has world's best quality china clay. China clay. World's best quality china clay, plus tin deposits, plus it also has granite deposits. Then this is Bristol Bay, and this is Wales. In Wales, here you have Cambrian Mountains. Cardiff is the capital of Wales. London is the capital of England. Now, what we see in Great Britain, whether it is Cambrian Mountain or Grampian Mountain or Pennine Range, all are very old mountains, Precambrian, weathered and denuded. They all are covered by moorlands. Chief vegetation of Britain is broad leaf deciduous vegetation. The chief vegetation of Great Britain is broadleaf deciduous vegetation, but in the northern part or in poor soil, we also find coniferous trees. But large part of these northwest mountain, Grampian Mountain, Pennine Range, this Cambrian Mountain, large part of these hills are covered with moorland. Moorland comprises of a small plant. Moorlands, they are covered with this northwest mountain, Grampian Mountain, Pennine Range, Cambrian Mountain. They all are covered by moorland. Moorland comprises of a small bush plant like bush known as heather. This heather is having beautiful purple color flower. These hills are covered by moorland. These moorland comprise of a plant like bush known as heather, and this heather is associated with purple color flower. So the entire hillscape appear to be purple. ऐसा लगता है किसने जानबूझ के लगाया है वहाँ पर, but it's natural. The entire hillscape appear to be of purple color because of this purple flower of heather. Although this heather makes the soil highly acidic, it is detrimental for the growth of crops. On highlands, crops are not grown anyway. These are found on highlands. Now, this was the basic description of Britain. Now let us start with this. If you see agriculture in Britain, 6% population is engaged in agriculture. And here agriculture is mixed farming. That is crops plus livestock ranching. Livestock, milch cattles, and here you find the highest yield of milk. Cattles having highest yield are found in Great Britain. So in Great Britain, if you talk about agriculture, only 6% population is engaged. Mixed farming is important, crops as well as livestock. And milch cattles in livestock, cattle rearing is very important because the climate and the soil is very much suitable for milch cattles. Now let us see some of the important cities, because Britain has been the center of a first industrial revolution. That is, machine age began in Britain. And first industrial revolution refers to machines, use of machines with the help of steam power. Second industrial revolution, that is period of mass production in assembly lines using electricity. Third industrial revolution, IT revolution, computer. And now we are in fourth industrial revolution, where cyber physical systems are in operation, like blockchain technology, isn't it? And this, all these smart factories, smart manufacturing, 3D printing. Now this is the fourth industrial revolution, which China has taken a far leap ahead as compared to us. So now let us see what were the important. Now, since I told you this Britain is surrounded by shallow continental shelf, this shallow continental shelf known as Dogger's Bank is ideally suited for fishing. So there are very important fishing ports. There are certain very important fishing ports of Britain. For example, in Scotland, here it is Aberdeen. Very important fishing port. Then you see this is an estuary of Humber River. Humber River estuary. It is like this. On its northern end, it is Hull. On the southern side, another city is there, that is Grimsby. These two are very important fishing ports. And here, Yarmouth. And then Lowestoft. And in the west, here, Fleetwood. These are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 most important fishing ports of fishing cities of Britain. Basically, they are very important because fishing is a very important activity in Britain, and these 6 happen to be the most important fishing port of fishing centers. Now let us come on to this manufacturing. It was the cotton textiles manufacturing that ushered the industrial revolution in Britain. And so Britain is very well known for cotton textile, woolen textile, And you see textile, whenever we say Kanpur is the Manchester of North India, Coimbatore is the Manchester of South India, Ahmedabad is Manchester of India. Manchester was a city in Britain that was known for its textile manufacturing. This map, if you enlarge it, if you enlarge, if you enlarge it, you open your atlas and see. Uh, right. This is the estuary, Mersey River estuary. This is sorry, this is not this is Hummer River. This is Mersey River estuary. A Mersey River is there. This estuary is of. This is Mersey River estuary. Just above this estuary, Liverpool is located, and this Manchester located over here, but it is connected to this estuary by way of canal known as Manchester Ship Canal. Manchester is located inland, but it is a major port of Britain. Although it is located inland, Manchester is located inland, but it is connected to Mersey estuary by way of Manchester Ship Canal. So Manchester is a port. It is a major port. It is a major trading port of Britain. So it is around Manchester, around over here, number of textile centers cropped up around Manchester. Largest is Manchester for cotton textile, and all along this Manchester Ship Canal. If you move along this Manchester Ship Canal, you will this canal is dotted with cotton textile centers. All along this canal, manufacturing is going on, and the certain bigger centers around Manchester are Oldham, Rochdale, just these close by. Burnley, Blackburn, and Bolton. These are dotted close, these all centers are dotted close to Manchester. It is cotton textile manufacturing hub. At one point of time, it used to export cotton textile all over the world. Such large was the manufacturing activity at one point of time. Shipbuilding, Glasgow was the largest center in textile. Manchester and its surrounding region. In fact, all along Manchester Ship Canal, textile manufacturing. And certain cities cropped up around Manchester that was specially designed for cotton textile manufacturing, like Oldham, Rochdale, Burnley, Blackburn, Bolton. These cities were devoted to cotton textile. Now, just on the eastern side of Pennine Range, Leeds and Bradford. These are the two centers for woolen textile. Woolen textile. Leeds to the east of Pennine Range and Bradford lying on Pennine Range. This is Leeds. This is Bradford. Yes, one more thing is there. In Scotland, there is a place known as Dundee. Below Aberdeen, Aberdeen was the fishing port. There is a place Dundee. It is very well known for jute manufacturing, jute bags. Apart from cotton and woolen textile, Dundee, this is in Scotland, known for jute bags. Now, once the Industrial Revolution took off, it started spreading in every part, in every field. Britain became a leader. Now you can see this is, I told you, Tweed River. Likewise, there's a Tyne River. There's a Tees River. Tweed. This is Tyne River. This is Tees River. Now they are very important. If you talk about shipbuilding activity, I told you it was the Glasgow that was the largest center in the world. Apart from Glasgow, this is Clyde River. Clyde River, where Glasgow was located. Apart from that, Tyne River, all along Tyne River, shipbuilding was very important. Next to Glasgow, and almost of equal importance, near the mouth of Tyne, there's a city, Newcastle, known for shipbuilding. Very important. Glasgow was overwhelmed with shipbuilding, and then came Newcastle, very important for shipbuilding. Just south of Newcastle, there's a place, Sunderland. Newcastle, Sunderland. Again, known for shipbuilding. Newcastle and Sunderland are exclusively devoted to shipbuilding. On the western side, here in Lake District, there's a city, Barrow. Very important shipbuilding center. Although Barrow is also equally famous for steel manufacturing, because shipbuilding requires steel. It's not a surprise that where shipbuilding is going on, steel manufacturing will also become an important activity. Apart from this, the capital of Northern Ireland, that is Belfast. These are also important shipbuilding. Although now these activities have diminished, UK is no more involved in these activities. Traditionally, they were the largest centers in the world. Glasgow, Newcastle, Sunderland, Barrow, and Belfast. That is capital of Northern Ireland. If you talk about steel manufacturing centers, again, Tees River. It is in that there's a city in the Tees estuary known as Middlesbrough, largest steel making center of Britain. At one point of time, it was largest in the world. Middlesbrough, very important. So important, so large that locomotive manufacturing facility was located close to Middlesbrough. You see, nearby there are two cities, Stockton and Darlington. These are engaged in locomotive. Why? Locomotive, rail ka engine. Basically, why? Because steel was available. Steel was available nearby. So this led to establishment of this Darlington and Stockton, which used to manufacture locomotive using the steel of Middlesbrough. Apart from this, we also discussed near Glasgow, there was a huge steel manufacturing facility known as Motherswell. And told you Barrow Steel. Middlesbrough, largest steel making center. On the west, Barrow is equally important for shipbuilding as well as steel. It is equally important for shipbuilding as well as steel. Now, there are certain towns where steel manufacturing and the associated activity has forward and backward linkages, like shipbuilding, steel manufacturing will automatically become important. There are towns like automobile manufacturing, steel making will automatically become important. Now steel manufacturing became market oriented because use of scrap. Now near automobile industry, basically if steel plant is located, it has the added advantage that market is close to it. And secondly, the scrap is obtained from the automobile industry as a raw material for steel. Like see, if you see over here, if you see this is kahan gaya? This is scrapland. See north of scrapland, there is a place Birmingham. Basically, Birmingham is an automobile manufacturing center. But obviously, as steel is required for automobile, it is also an important steel manufacturing center. If you see north of Birmingham, there is a place Sheffield. Sheffield is worldwide known for cutlery. Matlab, Eskilstuna in Sweden is known as Sheffield of Sweden. Sheffield is the world's best and the largest center for cutlery, chaku, chamach. This Sheffield, although it is known for cutlery, but since steel is required for it, so it is also an important steel manufacturing center. So Middlesbrough, exclusive for steel, and then Barrow, steel and shipbuilding, Birmingham, steel and automobiles, and Sheffield, cutlery, cutlery and steel, and Motherswell, exclusive for steel. Now, automobile manufacturing, yes, Birmingham, and just below Birmingham, you can see Coventry. Coventry. Birmingham and Coventry are known for automobile. Birmingham is also known for steel manufacturing. Coventry is known for automobile. Birmingham is also known for automobile. And the famous city of Oxford, now it is also known for automobile. Oxford is here on Thames River. Oxford, known for its university, now it's also known for automobile manufacturing. Now, there are certain other important cities like glassworks. Just this is Liverpool. Just above Liverpool, there is a city, St. Helens, known for glasswork. If you see this region south of, this is Mersey Estuary, this region south of Mersey Estuary, this region is known as Cheshire. It is one of the world's most important dairy farming region. It is undisputedly, it is the most important dairy farming region of Britain, Cheshire region. Although chemical plants are also there, but Cheshire, south of Lancashire, is the most important dairy farming region of Britain. And just southeast of Cheshire, here you will find a city. This is known for dairy farming and chemical plant. There's a place, Stoke-on-Trent. Here there's a place. I should remove this because there's no more space to write. Just south of Cheshire, there's a place, Stoke-on-Trent. There's a city, Stoke-on-Trent, famous for pottery making. Very famous for pottery making. So, these are the few industries of Britain. Steel industry. Yes. Let me rub this because otherwise, see just south of Birmingham, south of Scrapland, there is a city, Northampton, known for leather manufacturing. Leather. And north of Birmingham, here you see Nottingham and Leicester. This is Nottingham. This is Leicester. One is Nottingham. Second is one is Nottingham. Second is Leicester. Just look at, you can locate in an atlas. You will find a map of Great Britain in every atlas of the world. Apart from Europe, there's a separate map for United Kingdom. There's a big map. You can locate these places on that map. See, uh, Nottingham and Leicester. Second is, these are known for hosiery manufacturing. Hosiery. So, and one more thing, this Pena- Pennine range that runs through the middle, this Pennine range that runs through the middle like this, having steep edge towards west and it gently slopes towards east. This Pennine range is having two gaps. There are two gaps, two important gaps. Two important gaps. In north, it is known as Halt Whistle Gap. In south, it is known as Eyre Gap. Halt Whistle Gap connects Newcastle to Carlisle. Carlisle is a town in Lake District. This is Carlisle. Halt Whistle Gap connects Newcastle to Carlisle. Carlisle is located over here. And Eyre Gap connects Leeds to the Western Plains, that is Lancashire. Now, let us discuss the major, most important trading ports of Great Britain. Most important trading ports of Great Britain. Now, you see this Thames River, on this lies London. Most important trading ports. London. See Bristol Bay, Humber Estuary. Here there is a place Bristol. Here there is a port Southampton. Hull. Liverpool. Manchester. And this Glasgow. These are the one, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. These are 7 top trading ports of Great Britain. There are numerous industries over here. You see, if you see in Wales, in southern side, if you see in Wales, in the southern side, there is a Great Basin. Wales is also endowed with large quantity of high grade anthracite coal that is found in Great Basin. Great Basin. High grade anthracite coal. Cardiff is the capital of Wales. Here there are certain manufacturing centers like tin plate manufacturing. Swansea, important for tin plate manufacturing. Multiple industrial towns are there, but this much is sufficient. You see, what is more important, you need not cram everything. Thing, things should come easily. Even if you remember some of them, uh, it will suffice. Even 50% of it, it will suffice. But you must be well acquainted with these things. मतलब ऐसा नहीं है कि रट के आओ फिर भूल जाओ. This should become a part of your personality. This should flow as if flow of blood in your body. Things should come very easily. दिमाग पे जोर नहीं डालना पड़े. You need not put pressure on your mind. Read the things. I will take multiple tests, multiple tests, multiple tests, so many tests that ultimately these things will become very, very uh, matlab, familiar to you. You will become so familiar that as if it is your address. So it comes with test. It comes with test. Initially, you have to. I'll give you the maps and all the content. What I'm discussing, it's written over there. I'll give you everything, and then you gradually start. We'll start taking test of initially some countries like Germany, France, Italy. Then next test of some other countries likewise, and gradually you will come to terms. Now, next country is the last group of countries left is Scandinavian countries. That is Norway, Sweden, Finland, Denmark, and Iceland. Let us come to that Scandinavian countries. Map of Scandinavian countries. पानी है. आइसलैंड. आवाज आ रही है? आवाज आ रही है? Iceland is the least densely populated country of Europe, 3 persons per square kilometer. Now, this is an island which lies over mid-Atlantic ridge. See, there's a mid-Atlantic ridge running like this. North American plate is moving westward. Eurasian plate is moving eastward, right? And this island lies exactly over this ridge. This is the only country in the world which lies on two plates. The western part of Iceland is a part of North American plate. Eastern part of Iceland is a part of Eurasian plate. And you can see the division from the surface. If you go over there, you can see. And as the plates are diverging, magma is upwelling. Magma is upwelling along the ridges. As these Iceland is located, half of it is located in North American plate, half of it is located on Eurasian plate. As the two plates are diverging along mid-Atlantic ridge. Magma is upwelling, and this upwelling magma gets deposited inside Iceland. Suppose this is the surface, and at times magma also upwells. You can see an active volcano is there in Iceland known as Hekla. It is an active volcano. Why? Because as the plates are diverging, magma is upwelling. Rising thermal convection current causes these plates to move away, and the magma upwells. Some of it gets trapped within the earth. This trapped magma heats the this water, underground water, that is in the form of aquifers. Underground water in the form of aquifers gets heated by this rising thermal convection current. Therefore, geothermal energy, hot springs, geothermal energy. This Iceland is the world's largest producer of geothermal energy, and in fact, all its electricity production is based on geothermal energy. This is because this island is located on mid-Atlantic ridge, from where the thermal convection currents are rising, and these thermal convection currents, this heat of the thermal convection current gets trapped inside the earth below this island, and that heats the underlying water that is present in underlying aquifers. Underground water gets heated and moves out in the form of hot water, and that is the reason that we have here active volcano Hekla. Iceland is just located to the south of Arctic Circle. If you see, this is Arctic Circle. It is located just south of Arctic Circle. Its capital, Reykjavik, is the world's most northerly located capital. Reykjavik is the world's most, this is the capital. It is the world's most northerly located capital. See, devoid of any resource, still Iceland is so developed. Iceland, it's so cold. If you see, it is the warm Irmingar current that keeps it warm. The Irmingar current moves to the southwest of Iceland. That keeps it warm, and hot water, this thermal convection current heats up the underlying water. That geothermal energy is used. Fishing is the most important activity. Still, it is so developed. Why? Because of human resource development. हम कहते हैं ना, we don't have any resource. No resource is bigger than human resource. Once human resource development takes place, new innovations takes place, and when new innovations takes place, new resource base is created, and the country moves towards optimum population. So this was all about Iceland. Now let us come on to the main countries: Norway, Sweden, Finland, and Denmark. Norway. Open up your atlas and see the map of Norway. It is northernmost country of Europe. The border of Norway, see, it is shared with Sweden, Finland, as well as Russia. Norway shares its border with Sweden, Finland, as well as Russia. You will find Finland is there over here. Sweden is there over here. Sweden, isn't it? Like this. Then Gulf of Bothnia is there. Then Finland is there, and then Russia is there. Norway shares border with, this is Gulf of Bothnia. This is Norway. This is Sweden. This is Finland, and Russia also borders with Norway. This northern part of Norway, this entire northern part of Norway, Sweden, Finland, and Russia is known as Lapland. It is inhabited by Lapp tribe. Now, if you see Norway coast, this Norway's coast is fjord, highly dissected because of glaciation. Because of glaciation, this coast of Norway is highly dissected. All the entire western coast of Norway is highly dissected. Now, what we see, Norway is mostly a mountainous country. It is mostly, if you see, the border of Norway and Sweden is formed by Jolan Mountains. These mountains form the border of Norway and Sweden. Norway is mostly mountainous entirely. Basically, agriculture in Norway is important only in delta heads, near the heads of fjords. These are these are these are fjords. These delta heads, these delta heads, at the heads of delta heads, that is heads of fjord, agriculture is done. The only large tract of agriculture is around Oslo. It is around its capital, Oslo. It is large agricultural land, and the most important valley for agriculture is its largest river of Norway, that is Glommen Valley. Glommen Valley, it is a broad valley. It's very important for agriculture. Otherwise, Norway is entirely hilly. It is entirely hilly. It is entirely mountainous. It is entirely mountainous. And being on the western side, westerly winds cause copious rainfall. The maritime impact is there. As a result, Norway does not suffers from extremes of temperature. Even in winters, it's not so cold because of moderate impact of westerlies, which blow over the warm warm this uh, current that is known as jet stream, this Gulf Stream. These warm westerlies bringing water from Gulf Stream, they moderate the climate of Norway, so winters are not so warm. And this warm, this Gulf Stream keeps the coast of Norway open in the form of Norwegian current. Now, what we see, this was the basic. Now, Norway is the northernmost country of Europe. There is a Cape North. There is a Cape North Cape. That is the northernmost part of Europe. All entire the coast of Norway, if you begin from here, there is a place Stavanger, major port, all along the coast of Norway from Stavanger to Hammerfest. This entire coast is worldwide known for cod fishing, from which cod liver oil is obtained. From Stavanger to Hammerfest, it is worldwide known for cod fishing, this entire coast. And this is Lofoten Island, very famous for again cod fishing. Now there are certain here basically Oslo, located to the north of Oslo Fjord. This is Oslo. It is the largest, it is the capital city, it is the largest city, it is the main trading port. Here there is a place, Arendal. And here there is a place, Odda. Now, since it is hilly and it is exposed to westerlies, copious rainfall takes place. Because of this rain, hydroelectricity production is very good. Norway is having the highest hydroelectric production per capita of population. If you see in terms of per capita, Norway has the highest electricity production. Now, cheap electricity is abundant because of hydroelectricity, although Norway does not have any coal. Now, Norway tapped this hydroelectricity and started aluminum smelting, because what happened in aluminum smelting, from bauxite mine we extract alumina, and from alumina, by way of aluminum smelting plant, aluminum is obtained. Now this bauxite is mostly found in developing world where electricity is costly. But what do? They extract alumina from bauxite, but for reducing alumina into aluminum, that is, for aluminum smelting, abundant cheap electricity is required. So this alumina is usually sent to those countries which are having cheap electricity. The out of total cost of aluminum, cost of electricity is 35%. So cheap electricity is very important for extracting aluminum. As a result, Norway is a major major aluminum smelting plants are there. One it is at Arendal, aluminum smelting plant. Second at Odda, same aluminum smelting plant. To the west of Odda, there is a place Bergen, and here there is a place Trondheim. Trondheim. Traditionally, Stavanger, Bergen, and Trondheim, these three were the fishing and shipping ports of Norway. Chief fishing and shipping port of Norway. But this Trondheim is also known for paper industries. Bergen is the place where Jerknes and V. Jerknes and J. Jerknes, they formulated the polar front theory of origin of temperate cyclone. Bergen was the place in Norway where they formulated this theory, polar front theory of origin of temperate cyclone. So this theory is also known as Bergen theory. This Bergen name has been derived from the city where this theory was formulated. Now, apart from this, what we see, uh, in the last decade, there was a huge discovery of oil in North Sea. North Sea oil. I discussed in previous lecture, best quality oil. It is the North Sea oil that determines the price of crude oil in the international market, and this oil is known as Brent crude oil. Largest share of North Sea oil went to Norway. Norway, which was so poorly endowed in terms of coal, no iron ore, nothing, got largest chunk of North Sea oil, and now Norway is the largest producer of oil in Europe, and that too high grade oil. This Stavanger port also serves to the North Sea oil. This also serves to the North Sea oil field. Now, apart from this, this is all about Norway. Now, it is mostly mountainous. Julian Mountains are there. In the northern parts, sun, there's a 24 hours for, there's basically daytime, and basically because it's located close to North Pole, so duration of days and nights goes on increasing. So this is all about Norway. East of Norway, just east of Norway lies Sweden. Sweden is the most important Scandinavian country, largest in terms of area, largest in terms of population, and most industrialized, most urbanized, having highest per capita income. Norway, Sweden is the most developed, most largest, most populous, most industrialized among all Scandinavian countries. Now let us discuss Sweden. This is Sweden. Open up your map. Sweden, if you see, it is located to the east of Norway, and it is separated from Finland by way of, if you see, it is located to the, this is Norway, move like this, and to the east of it, this is Gulf of Bothnia that separates Finland from Norway. Gulf of Bothnia. Now, this is Norway, this is Sweden, this is Finland. Along the border of Norway and Sweden, there is a mountain known as, so Norway receives adequate rainfall, adequate warm moist winds. So it's Norway's temperature is moderate throughout the year, and even in winters it's not so cold because of moderating impact of sea. But the same this Julian mountain does not permit this moderating impact to extend inward towards Sweden. So Sweden is devoid of the moderating impact of sea, because Julian mountain restricts these benefits on the western side. It does not allow warm moist wind to move eastward. As a result of these Julian mountain, Sweden is very dry, and if moisture is absent, if it is dry, then extremes of temperature are there. Sweden is very cold in winter. So cold that even in the southern fertile agriculture land, wheat is not grown because of low temperature. They grow only oat, rye, hay.